we're recording. And so just so that everybody knows, but this is not going to CIA. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to ICE. It's for me. And so it says, got it. There we go. So sorry to, oh, there it goes. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
So then mid 2020, I started working, trying to figure out what was the next thing after having been at CBS for 25 years. And you know what? Stuff started coming slowly. So it gave me a chance to decide which way I wanted to go with my career, what was the next step. And I spent the rest of 2020 doing that. Start 2021, my dad was faced with serious heart issues. In January, he was supposed to have a procedure, but his heart was not cooperating. He was at 15% heart capacity. And so we spent the next 6 months just trying to nurse him back to health so that he could have the 2 procedures. Eventually in April, he had a pacemaker and a defibrillator put in. And that came with its whole host of recuperating, because in the process of having that done, he fell at the hospital and fractured a bone in his neck. So then he was in a brace for another few months. So, you know, it teaches you perseverance and patience and breathing and praying. But fast forward, we got through it. He's not 100% yet, but he's much better than he was. And thankfully, you know, we've now skated through 2 years and no one got COVID. So I count my blessings. Take the good.
So I like the second question is, and so what's new?
So what's new,
or what's in the offing for you?
So I am working for myself. I decided to go the consultant route. So consultant strategist. I'm still doing D&I work in the entertainment division, in the entertainment industry. So
and that's diversity and inclusion.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm working on 2 separate projects with HBO. And then I sort of shifted gears to continue doing the DE&I work, but across all industries. I partnered up with a woman who runs a diversity, has her own D&I firm. And we work on individual contracts together. We just wrapped up a contract with a clean energy company. We just signed a contract with a Latino media startup. And so I'm on this train following to see where it takes me. I'm not rushing to get back to corporate. So for now, this works.
Wonderful. So earlier I talked about Sonia Gonzalez was the first female madrina, period. And she was joined that special night on 13th Street University with David Sayas, who was our first padrino. And before I jump with David, who came on board, want to ask Sonia, how did you survive the pandemia? And what's new or next for you? Because you're always doing some wonderful hot stuff as an editor. She's one of our leading editors in the industry. She's also director and a producer, but she's done many notable documentaries for the Latino community and the Black community that have aired nationally on PBS. So, and has been in Tribeca, Doc NYC, where she won an audience award for a story about a woman from the South Bronx. So Miss Kick-Ass Sonia Gonzalez Martinez.
Hi guys. Like Maggie, similarly, like pretty much the same exact thing. Just, you know, trying to stay cool during the pandemic was definitely like a mind game. You know, you just have to like really stay on top of your mentals, or else it could get really depressing, even till now, you know. So I did the same thing, you know, just like exercising, staying busy, staying creative, dusting off old projects that I had, writing. Right now, the interesting thing about the pandemic is that like I've always, like a lot of my workflow as an editor, I work from home. So it was just more of the same. And right when I was starting to work in an office, then all this stuff happened. So I've been working from home for the past couple of weeks, and I'm good with that, because right before New Year's, like everyone around me was just getting COVID with this Omicron. But so I'm just editing right now. You know what I mean? Editing from home, exercising, editing, just staying positive, watching funny stuff when I'm not working. Yeah.
Any special project that you can talk about?
I'm one of the editors on a docuseries about Derek Jeter. So that's for ESPN. and that's like super exciting and a lot of fun and special. You know what I mean? It's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. David Sayas, I know what you did recently, but want to know what was your magic trick for self that either worked or didn't work that got you through the pandemic?
First, hello everybody. Is great to see everybody here. It's wonderful. Well, it hasn't been. It's the opposite of who I am. I'm always on the move. I always like to be busy. So it's been difficult for me to go through the pandemic. Plus, I'm paranoid, so I don't really go out much. I'm kind of a homebody. But it's really put a damper in the momentum that I have as an artist, and it's been hard for me to negotiate how to adjust. And I'm having a wonderful wife is a good way to adjust in what's going on right now. And I work sporadically, which is I've been really lucky where for the last couple of decades I've been extremely busy all the time, and it kind of all stopped the last couple of years because of COVID, and probably because of age. I don't know, but um,
You made a guest appearance on the new series of Dexter, so
yes.
you're back on Showtime.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful for that, and I'm thankful for the other jobs, but they're sporadic. So I've had to learn how to. I mean, I've done a lot of writing. I've done a lot of family. I've been involved with a lot of family, a lot of friends, and I've been trying to help as much as I can. I've been lucky enough not to get this thing, but everyone around me has, and it's disheartening. But I stay positive, and I continue to try and be involved as an artist in any way I can, or as a friend, or as just a family member. And so yeah, the adjustment is tough for me, but we'll survive.
But you're on the other side.
Yeah.
Jose, one of our padrinos, how did you survive the pandemia, and what's next for you? What are you working on now, or what's your next big project?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna agree with David here. Like, it wasn't an easy transition for me at all. I give you all credit for those of you who were able to tap into that creativity during this time. But I, like a Pisces that I am, I felt every emotion, and it took a lot of time to get out of dark places with this pandemic. Just trying to, everything stopped for me. It's a blessing to hear David. I look up to David with so much work that he's done, and David, I love your wife Liza. She's always there to support. But it's also a blessing to hear you talk about how your work is sporadic, because it's like, if your work is sporadic, then the rest of us, you know what I mean? We're all trying to get up there as well. And my survival job, I lost both those jobs and was trying to figure out what's going to happen, with keeping up with things. And so in order to get my head out, I finished my second master's degree. TíoLouie mentioned this. So I have now my MA and my MFA in creative writing in English. I have 2 full features that I wrote, and I'm working on a pilot for a series. I can't talk too much about it, but it is about the history of El Caribe in Puerto Rico. And my co-writer, who is supposed to be here, but she's running a little bit late, she's been an amazing blessing to my life as well. But outside of that, to be honest with you, I learned the art of creating flancochos from Puerto Rico, and they're going like hotcakes. People are buying them like crazy. So if you're interested in a flancocho,
you're making sancocho?
Not sancocho, flancocho. It's a fat boy cake. So it's flan and cake baked at the same time. It's like you can't choose one from the other, so you eat them both baked at the same time. It's an amazing. I'll post pictures up so you guys can take a look at it. But that's how I got through the pandemic.
I'm gonna place an order. So officially tonight you have an order. Okay.
Got it.
And so again, looking at my Sionin, I see you're a black screen. Did you walk away? Sionin.
Hi, hello, everybody.
Hello, Sionin. You know, we really come from all sorts of ethnicities and backgrounds. What I love about Sionin is, yes, she's Puerto Rican, but her father is from Spain, and specifically Gallego. And she's married to a Colombian. So both her kids are like Gallego, Puerto Rican, Colombian. I think like the best of, our Latin speaking world, including Gallego not being Castilian. But so how did you survive with two small kids and school being down and out while trying to be in the industry?
Exactly. Barely. Let's just put it that way. As you can see, I have this beautiful about to be 10-year-old and an awesome about to be 7-year-old that I'm sure will pop up here in any moment. We made
Gala, I'm your TíoLouie.
Oh, she knows TíoLouie. She's here listening to the whole thing. She's like, oh, it's a party. I'll be there. Supposed to be doing math. Okay. So, I mean, honestly, there were a lot of ups and downs, which some of you here know about. But, we've been blessed, as they say. We've been lucky. There were some health issues with my parents that we had to take care of, which, as other people have said, especially during COVID, is really challenging. School being up and down was really hard with two little kids. I didn't work. I basically didn't work for until this past June. So that was a little worrying because, as freelancers, when you're even with COVID, blah, 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 so you're getting older and freelancing, you just need to keep going. So that was scary, but it's been, since June, it's been really good. And my husband, the Colombian, has been working pretty much the whole time. He only had a few months off. Leo is his name. He's been editing and he's really busy. So that really kept us afloat.
And the beauty of a network is I'm going to out you, but at one point during that period, schools on, schools off, schools were mostly off. And you had two under the age of 10. That at one point I got this distress text. Will I ever work in the industry again? And of course we're to support one another and said, of course, you're never leaving us, and so you're back in your game. Can you talk about what you're working on now?
Oh, so yeah, I just want to add that you were part of my survival. If the question is, how did you survive? You were definitely a part of that. So I want to shout that out right now. I just started on a project. I was on a project for a streamer. It was going to be like this huge thing that got canceled. Not yet. Get dressed first. And sorry, there's the other one. So right now I'm on a project for another PBS project for the director that I work with on a lot of the PBS documentaries. So
she worked on a documentary on Raul Julia and on John Leguizamo.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a really, really great project. So
wonderful. A little sidestep. I've been introducing people as they come on. Dalia Davi, talk about the Bronx. I mean, my heart is with this woman. I have seen her in English and Spanish language productions. She's working on a documentary. I think she's superb. And she's worked in New York. She's worked in DC. She's worked in film. She's worked in theater. So Dalia Davi, hola.
Hola. So much. Wow. I'm really, really happy. I just got to New York 2 weeks ago because the man who raised me as his daughter had developed cancer, and he passed on New Year's Day.
I'm sorry to
my
hear
mom
that.
got COVID the next day, and my sister. So I'm like in shock, but
You're
I'm
in
safe.
But you're here.
I'm here. So I really needed this. When I saw your email, I like cried.
Well, I'm celebrating, and in a moment I'm gonna go get a drink. I didn't bring a drink for myself. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. I know I need mine. So I'm gonna get that. So thank you for joining us, because a lot of us have lost contact over the last 2 years, and we need these excuses to get together. And I wanted to bring out and show off my padrinos, the 32, some of the 32, and to talk about the new 5 ones.
Thank you, Louie. Thank you so much for this. And I'm happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Honey, it can only get better.
I hope so.
That's
It
what
will,
it's
it will.
about. And so I have Ariane Blanco, who's from the New York State Council of the Arts, part of my Cuban mafia from New Jersey, also developing his own projects. And it's wonderful to have you on board, Ariane. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. My apologies for coming a little late, but
No.
just glad to be here and sharing community. You're
Right.
You're so right. This is so important to do more of these excuses to get together.
Exactly. You know, who cares about 3 kings? It was for us to get together. Estela Rizzuto, who now has a second barreled name. She got married a few months ago, is living upstate now, and is a sister of mine for 25 years. I mean, anytime I would do a program in a school on a career day and I needed someone to come in and talk, Estela was always there. So Estela's always been there for our community, for our kids. Dominican, Argentine, talk about our beautiful mixtures. And we share the Argentine connection, and then Ariane and I share the Cuban connection. So nice to see you, Estela.
Nice to see you too, and everyone else, and Feliz Día de los Reyes.
Feliz Día de los Tres Reyes Magos. Gabriela Estrada, introduce yourself to us. Audio.
Ya está. Hola, feliz
Ok.
Día de Reyes. ¿Cómo están todos?
Bien, bienvenida, chica.
Gracias. Yo soy cineasta, directora, and screenwriter, and also mostly involved in dance. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, TíoLouie, for getting us together. And un abrazo a todos. And like you said, it can only get better.
It can only get better, man. That's what gets me up in the morning. Susan, what are you working on new? I know you're always working on your daughter's career, but what's, what you're always buzzing with something new. What are you doing that's new?
Oh my God. Well, to me, the best thing of this, and hi Dalia, I miss you. Sophia's around here, but she sends her love. Well, I worked with Dalia many years ago as an actress at the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater. But anyhow, the blessed thing of this pandemic, even though it was not a blessing for everyone, but we did go through the pandemic for a whole year. And then my son was able to get a kidney transplant. And that was a year and 2 months ago. So I'm really happy about that. And I'm blessed about that.
He's now 31 or 32.
No, he's going to turn on 2/22/22. He's going to turn 33.
Wow.
And going to 2/22/22 in celebration of that, talking about what we're doing, is that my daughter, Sophia Angelica, because of all the dedication she did in trying to get her brother a kidney transplant through music, and it was a miracle how it happened, because usually it takes 4 to 8 years to get a kidney.
But you're a hustler in our industry. Whatever you set your mind to, you make it happen. Plus you're a mother. So when you put those two together, there was no stopping this Latina and getting a kidney from somebody. Literally, talk about, we had to watch our back around her. Okay. It was just, she was getting
I went through a whole year.
She was getting that kidney one way or the other. And she got it. through Facebook, she was telling everybody in the world, and all of a sudden they got a contact in Miami. And they said, you got to come down here. If you want it, it's yours. And they were on the next plane at the beginning of COVID. That one day needs to be a short film, a book. I mean, and then you had to stay there for 2-3 months afterwards.
Yes, actually, yes. It was September 24th, 2020, when my son got his kidney. And it was mainly, I would say this was a family thing. I got Maylin Macias Toro, mi comadre, which is the godmother of Sofia. I got Kiki. I know who's going to come on later. Kiki Meléndez. A lot of people, a lot of my friends. I got you, TíoLouie. I got everybody together to help me spread the word. And Sofia did a whole campaign, my daughter, through a song that she wrote, My Brother, Big Brother, for her brother. And even she was on Fox TV, trying to get this kidney. And it was through Facebook, actually, and through her song that we got, someone, unfortunately, a young man who was 33, who was a donor, an organ donor. He was passing away, and we had less than 2 days to fly to Miami in order to get his kidney. So God bless the soul of that mother and that young man, which we met, the mother. It was a very emotional meeting, and we're so thankful and blessed. But that's why I'm saying, with everything with COVID and everything that's going on, I think that if you have faith and you unite and you love what you're doing and you persevere, anything is possible. And especially with good people like you and everybody uniting together through these means like Facebook, Instagram, etc. And I'm learning that now more than ever because I'm a paper lady. I never liked digital stuff. And now I'm learning that this is the only way to really communicate and be able to make a difference. And yes, I'm keeping busy, but to be honest, like I'm very busy with the management. I represent Latino kids. I have a kid doing the voice of Santiago in Santiago of the Seas and Nickelodeon, and that happened, it aired in the pandemic. I have another kid, and also that is going to come out on the 13th in Law and Order, and he worked during the pandemic. So I do have kids working, thank God, but it hasn't been easy because either they have to be vaccinated or, they have to get a COVID test. I mean, for the Law and Order one, he had to get a COVID test like 4 times, each time he was going to go on set, etc. So I've been blessed as a talent manager. I've been blessed teaching virtually, and now we're back in person. Hopefully we'll have our live show in Symphony Space on May 21st. God willing, at last, a showcase with our Latino kids and teens. And I've been very busy traveling with my daughter, who finished her music album, as a pop artist at last, even though she's been a creative activist for many years with the United Nations. And at last she's going to release that. And until 22, her single is going to come out. So very busy, yeah, but very blessed. And I thank God and everybody for always looking out. And please follow my daughter, Sophia Angelica. Because I've been told that that's the only way that people get to be known, by following people. And follow Ryman Entertainment, follow TíoLouie Primetime. I've been telling people have been telling me that forever, and now I'm believing it. It's a digital world. It's not like it used to be, before, headshots and resumes that you mail or your breakdown services that you get through the mail. Everything is digital. So I'm learning that, the hard way, but it's true. And thank you, TíoLouie, for inviting me again. And we were supposed to actually, before the pandemic, remember, we were gonna, Sophia and me.
Our last show was February of 2020, and we already were booked the second week of March, and or it might have been the third week of March. It was the third week of March, and they were even contacted because we would hold it in a Broadway theater. And they're like, do you want to do this? And I'm like, do I want to kill my people? And it's like, and then all the Broadway theaters closed. And that Friday the 13th, and that was it. And but yes, I had booked you to talk about your profession as an educator, trainer, and manager of Latino youth, and for your daughter to perform. And that went down, but there's still the other side. Josa, you know, we're in a New York bubble here. Tell us, how is COVID in Montreal in regard to, you're a little more strict out there. You have a 10 o'clock lockdown curfew. If you're seen on the streets of Montreal after 10 p.m., you got a $1,000 to $6,000 fine. They don't mess around there. They're like, we're going to nip this in the bud.
And now if you want to go to the SAQ or the weed store,
The
you have to show
SAQ.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the liquor store.
Right. It's their liquor stores are government run. So it's SAQ for French. It's an acronym. And because pot is legal in Canada, yay, they have official Canadian pot stores. I mean, that's one of the first stops I make after I land at the airport in Montreal. It's straight to the government sanctioned store. It's like walking into a 21st century, wonderful, great place. And you can't take pictures inside because, of course, the New York tourist was there trying to take pictures inside, and they're like, no. And the reason I found out no is because they look for these pictures when they cross the border into the United States, and they could be prevented entry if they're found to be working in a pot store in Canada. That's how antiquated we are in this country. But anyway, kudos to Canada. So how's the community dealing with it?
Am I the one freezing over here?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think no.
Okay. Yeah, so, well, from the beginning of the pandemic, I started offering workshops online, and which you have been a guest, Louis, and just keep on moving forward. And this year we celebrate 30 years in operation.
Bravo, bravo, bravo to your tenacity. I think the number one thing that connects everybody here is tenacity. Everyone has written, you know, can write a book about the tenacity they've had to endure to have the successes on a small scale, on a large scale. And the key word is tenacity. And I think the key word during the pandemia, I call it the pandemia, is adaptability. We've had to adapt to this situation because you adapt or you sink. I want a special kudos to Edwin Pagan. He's going to be one of our new inductee Padrinos. His track record speaks for itself. One of our newest madrinas, Reina Valentin, who is la reina del barrio of East Harlem. Ruben Cruz, I have here, is Ruben Cruz from the city council?
I was a candidate for city council, but I'm still a member of the community in the arts.
Okay, well, welcome, Ruben. Welcome, Ruben. Want to make sure I have said Laura G. Laura G, you with us? Laura. Oh, no. Oh, Laura G was the Apollo lady. I got you. She's
a
supporting
friend of mine. She's a senior producer at the Apollo.
Ah, okay. And Janet, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janet. I live in the Bronx, and I'm not in the field. I'm just here as a friend, supportive Edwin.
Very good. I'm glad he's got many people here who are huge fans of his. Judy, what are you working on next? Audio? You can't just be a voyeur.
I can't just be a voyeur.
Right.
What am I working on next?
Next.
Oh God, what am I not working on next? I've got a I've got a conference I got to teach at starting this coming weekend. I'm not supposed to say, but supposedly I'm going to be seen on Billions season 6.
Oh, that's one. Is it called Billions or Billionaires?
Billions?
Billions. I think, yes, it is Billions.
Something on Showtime, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't watch TV, so I never know. Did you know, isn't that the wildest thing? I made my living off of TV and film for years and years and years, and I never watched the damn shit.
It happens. It happens. So congratulations. I'm glad
Yeah,
to
I
hear
mean,
that.
in one way, I guess the pandemic has not been so bad because everybody stayed home and watched a lot of TV. So I was getting a shitload of residuals, which was really nice.
Very good for you. I see Raquel Lizardi is on. She's going to be one of our new inductees. And just curious, Mr. Torres, what do you do besides being a fan of Nina? Because I see lots of artwork around your house.
He's an artist.
Ah,
An artist. I'm an artist. Yeah.
A phenomenal artist.
Yeah, I'm an artist. And that's how I got through the pandemic. You know, my art was my prayer for humanity. So that was my source of inspiration. I'm an artist. I studied dance.
He was on the faculty at FIT or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I retired, by the way. We closed the school March 12th. May 7th, I was out.
So
that's not retired. That's just people moving us out. We never.
That's
retire.
right.
Never say die.
Right.
After 40 years, it was enough.
Right. You're part of a new generation of 4.5 million who are called the Great Resignation.
Exactly.
Well, it was about time. This is, things will never be the same again, and things should never be the same again. So, and that's why a lot of people are feeling this freedom of just, I wasn't 100% happy where I was before, where I was working, who I was working for, who I was reporting to, who was reporting to me, and they bust out. And I applaud all those people, and I get it. And I think, people have compared what will the rest of this decade be? Will it be like the Roaring 20s? Will it be like the 30s that we saw a burst of entertainment that exploded post 1929, stock market crash, where some of the greatest era of filmmaking was the 1930s in this country. In Latin America, it was the 1940s. So some people are saying that it's going to be, for us, it's going to be more like the 40s, where the 1940s was the golden age of Mexican cinema. It was the golden age of Argentine cinema. It was the golden age of Spanish cinema. So it'll be curious to see, will it be the Roaring 20s? Will it be the 30s, or will it be the 40s? I'm an perennial optimist, and I see wonderful opportunities for my community. I think we're going to be much more in demand than we ever have before. And I see opportunities galore. And it's not just a pipe dream. I see it, and I'm going to fight for it. My change has been, I've gone from being an advocate to I'm going to be an activist now. So 10 years, we turn 10 years old next month. 10 years of trying to play nice has worked sometimes, but hasn't worked all the time. So now we're going to be activists, and we're going to break doors down. So I see lots of good opportunities for our filmmakers, for our actors, and for our musicians. And Joseph, we hope to see you at the Montreal Jazz Festival, which is always the last week of June, first week of July. If some of you have never been to the Montreal Jazz Festival, it's the world's largest jazz festival. And it is 10 days it runs usually from Canada Day, July 1st, probably in the late June into like July 7th, 10th. And it is one of the most wonderful musical experiences. And it's not just jazz. The best promotion I can give for it, imagine if we closed 42nd Street to 59th Street from 5th Avenue to 9th Avenue to 10th Avenue. If we close that up and did 4 sound stages on each of those on the corners of that great expanse, and every hour from 12 noon to 11 p.m., there's a different group playing on each of the corners for free. And it's not just jazz, it is phenomenal. And then at nights, they have some of their premium concerts that you do pay to, go to, and that's some of the world leading, you know, Sting has performed there over the decades, many stellar names. So I suspect that by, you know, the Montreal Jazz Festival has been closed like so many other festivals for 2 years, but I suspect and predict it will be open for 2022, and it's going to be the party of the century.
I wish I can agree with you, but Quebec is extremely strict.
Is that your
And-
premiere?
Yeah.
So
Extremely.
the province of Quebec has a premier, and he's being very conservative.
Well, you know, again, we don't know, you know, where with the different variants, our numbers are going up and up and up. And so for precaution, that's why we have the curfew. And a lot of our festivals, our Montreal, our Black Film Festival for Black History Month is all online now. So everything is going online. Most of our festivals, our theaters are closed. Our restaurants are closed. You know, you can have Uber, DoorDash, or whatever it is, but yeah, everything is pretty much closed down. The schools are closed until end of January. So yeah, but we're safe.
I think it's going to turn around, but I think it's also going to be tough because all the groups have to submit by February. And I wonder if by February, they're going to be able to make decisions for a festival in June. But I'm being optimistic. I need the Montreal Jazz Festival this year.
I'm just hoping that August I can get a venue to do our 30th anniversary.
You have the best chicken party in all of Montreal for your annual anniversary. So kudos to you. We have another Padrino who joined us, Jorge Oliver, born in Puerto Rico, filmmaker, film professor from San Francisco to Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. And he's now not only a professor at Pratt, but he was recently made Dean of the Arts Department.
The School of Art. Hi,
of
everyone.
School of Arts. So yes, we do have Puerto Ricans who are deans of major colleges and universities, and here in New York, Jorge Oliver. So I've been asking our padrinos, and I'm going to pose it to you. How did you survive the pandemia, and what's next in you and hot that you're developing?
I have been lucky that I have remained healthy throughout this whole period, unlike a lot of people that I love that have been close to me at different stages, you know, from the beginning till now. So I've been able to sort of remain healthy, but running, I'm the dean of the School of Art at Pratt Institute, and running an academic institution during the pandemic has been extremely tough on all our staff and faculty. They're extremely exhausted. We're at the point now where the way that we're thinking about this is that we can't keep canceling things. We just need to keep moving forth and trying to keep everyone as healthy as possible. So we're starting the semester now online for the first 2 weeks. And I'm hoping that if the pattern is like it was in South Africa, that we're just experiencing a peak and that it'll go down. And by the end of January and by when February comes, we will have some type of quote unquote normalcy. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Latinos and Latinx in positions of power. What I would say, you know, I got involved in filmmaking because I felt that there were not enough of us involved in positions of power. So I think it's really important. And same thing in academia, you know, I try to teach my students, no matter where they come from, to properly represent people in film, because I experienced as an actor, and I see Susan Ribbon around, and she knows the time period that I'm talking about, you know, where we would walk into an audition and they would say, but you don't look Puerto Rican, or the parts that were available for us were so stereotypical. You would have to have a specific accent. You would have to sound, and you'd be selling drugs or selling yourself in a corner, you know. So that's why I got involved in filmmaking, and also got involved in academia so that I could make a difference. And I would just, don't wait for people to give you a chance. I think technology has changed so quickly that we're able now to produce and create our own content, and people are looking for our stories now, which, you know, before that was not the case. So just keep writing, keep thinking and moving forward with your stories, because I think they're really important and they're necessary. And also, you know, we have all these platforms like Netflix and Hulu, and they're looking for content, and you can start on the web these days. And if you get enough clicks, a producer is gonna, you know, contact you and say, hey, you know, this looks interesting, we would like to partner with you. And that's how a lot of productions have ended up on HBO and all that good stuff.
No, that's great. That's great and encouraging to hear. And that's why I was very heartened. You might have missed earlier that David Sayas, who's an accomplished actor in film, theater, and so on, said when I asked what were you doing during the pandemic, he said he took up writing.
Wonderful.
So it's we need to tell, you know, and Eddie and Edwin Pagan, who's going to be honored tonight, we were talking about that 20, 30 years ago, there was a different energy of people collaborating together and working on one another's films and stuff like that. And he wasn't seeing that much. And I said, where I was seeing it much more that you touched on is actors now who are so disgusted, as Dahlia has been, and others in the industry, that they don't want to be depicted as prostitutes. They don't want to be drug dealers, headbangers, you know, in prison and stuff like that. And so actors are like, I'm going to write my own stuff. I'm going to get people who know how to film to film. And so actors now are becoming producers, are becoming writers, are becoming directors. So this was not something we saw with actors 30 years ago. But this, in the last 10 years, we're seeing much more that, as you said, and I agree with you. I say, if you're not getting the roles, make your roles.
Yes.
Star in your own film.
Get together with other people and make it
Absolutely.
happen. Yes, without a doubt.
So anything you're heartened or looking forward to, any project or initiative you're doing personally or through your school or on the side for 2022?
Nothing concrete so far, because I've been dealing with COVID issues from the get-go, and that has pretty much taken most of my creativity. But I am feeling like I want to start writing again and working on a project. I feel like I'm starting to settle down as dean, and now I can, you know, the beginning of any type of job like that takes a lot of time to learn as much as you can about your different departments. I have 8 departments under my wing. So now, and then with COVID, that hit really hard. I would really like to get back to acting. There is a director who reached out to me for Fuerza Fest to work on a short play, gay themed, where I would be playing a Cuban character, and I would be looking. I mean, I hope that we can do it, and that would be my next project if I could get back to acting again, which is really my main love, to tell you the truth.
All you have to do is carve a 25th hour in your day and you'll make it happen.
I'll make it happen. I think I need to find a balance between academia and getting creative again. That's part of the reason why I ended up coming back to New York City, right? So that I'm back home and I can start working on that, because when I retire, I'm going to be the grandpa in the sitcom. You know, if Rita Moreno can do it at 90, I'll be able to get there, I hope. I hope I have the genes that I can last that long.
You definitely do. Yep, where they're called gap genes. Or yeah, Rena, before we start with the new inductees, did I lose you, Rena? Rena, she's one of our godmothers. I wanted her to talk. Rachel, are you there?
No, I was going to get a drink.
No, Actually, Mark, can you get me either a glass of white wine or marsala, please? Because I didn't get any libation for myself. And
I knew there was a reason you wanted me on the call.
thank goodness we're under the same. So you know where the marsala may be. Worst comes to worst, a glass of white wine will do me well, but I need some booze. Thank you. Rena, give me a quick rundown before we start with our new padrinos of the year. How did you survive la pandemia, and what are you working on now? What's your next big thing or project?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not in a really talkative mood.
Okay.
I've been reclusing and I've been in a bubble, just, restoring, recharging, purging, doing all that great stuff.
So here's where I come in, because most of you are really bad at that. And I'm the one that promotes you because I see the beauty and wonder and excitement in you. One of the great things you were doing during the pandemia was you were convening groups of people meditating. And that was so powerful and so desperately needed, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when people were losing their minds, their lives, their families. So you may not want to talk now, but at least I just want to kudos that you were doing that, obviously for yourself, but you were also doing it for community, and you got others involved in that. So you were doing as you've always been doing, Rena. No me busques la lengua. Okay.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's just, I came because, I always honor you. And I definitely wanted to share space with all of these beautiful people. I knew it was going to make my heart smile. So I just, I said, you know what, I'm going to come on, even if just for a little while, because I knew it was just going to invigorate me. So I'm going to go get my drink now.
Okay, I'll be joining you in a
to
moment.
everybody.
Love you,
Happy New Year,
Rena.
everybody.
Love you, Rena.
I'll be right
and
back.
So also want to acknowledge Mirta is on board. Mirta Vida, born in Puerto Rico, joined the military, is a phenomenal screenwriter and screenwriting doctor. She helps people with their scripts from China to all over the world. So, oh, wow. Thank you.
Marsala.
I got my dream, marsala.
I guess I'm done, huh?
Oh, no. Yummy.
I got here at the right time.
I know. So welcome. So it's
Thank you.
8:04. I want to start with my padrinos for this year. Thank you to the padrinos who joined us. You're our gems. And it's so funny as I'm segueing into the new padrinos. There's 5, so we're going to grow from 32 to 37. Is I bumped into a neighbor on the way up here who I said I was busy preparing for all of this, and she asked, what is this? And it was an Anglo nice woman in the neighborhood, in the building, who's like family. And it just rolled off my tongue where I said, we're honoring people who go beyond the call of duty for community. That's what a padrino is, a godmother and a godfather. And it's, even though I'm not a practicing Catholic, I was raised a Catholic, but in Catholicism, or at least in the Latino Catholic family, when a parent assigned someone to be their child's godparent, remember, my baby is prime Latino media. So when I entrust, those to be godparents in the Latino culture, when you made someone a godmother, godfather, it was also saying, should I die, you're the one that I would want to raise my child. And which it's such an honor, and such a tribute and a slight burden, but the responsibility of a padrino is, it's a big thing in our community. It's, if something should happen to my baby, I know that I can rest in peace knowing that you will be looking after my child. So, but we give this award, and it's honoring people who sometimes are unsung heroes, and people like, when I brought David on, people know him as an actor, but I knew what he does for the community. So for me, it was a no-brainer when he was the first padrino. And Sonia, I know Sonia for 25 years. I mean, there isn't a youth conference in town in the last 25 years, championing Puerto Rican youth, from Palante conferences at Hunter College. Sonia has always been there. So Maggie, what you've done for people, from El Diario de la Prensa all the way back to in the 80s for the first women's conference in China that Hillary Clinton went to and dubbed the term women's rights are human rights. You were involved in behind the scenes in New York to orchestrate people that you were working with. So you're all remarkable people. So we're starting off alphabetically, but and I have her here, Raquel Lizardi, who goes by Rocky Lizardi. Rocky, are you on?
I'm here. Hello, everyone. So nice to see everyone.
So all we're gonna get is a still photo of you?
Yes.
Okay, I work with whatever I get my hands on. Okay, women rule. You've got the floor.
When TíoLouie, when you start breastfeeding, you'll understand.
Okay, that's so. She just gave it away. I told her I wasn't going to touch the subject, but she's a mother of one of the newest additions to our family, my 6-month-old nephew, who she's breastfeeding. So she's on the board of directors of Teatro Círculo. She works at Sony Music in music video editing and post-production. She's part of a task force that came about after George Floyd situation rattled the rankers of society, and she ran it for Sony, and they gave away $1 million to different nonprofit organizations that fight for social and racial justice. So for me, and with us not so many years ago, anytime I had a Prime Latino Media, it was always like, how can I help? How can I show up that night and help with the Prime Latino Media Salon that used to convene every month till the pandemic? I mean, it's now going to be 2 years next month that we haven't gotten together in person, and we probably won't till September. But Rocky has been there for the community, and I love to promote her this way, and it drives her crazy. She is an Alaskan Puerto Rican, okay? Are our people all over the planet? Absolutely. She's an Alaskan Puerto Rican who is advocating since the age of 12, who advocated as a teenager to the Alaskan legislature, fighting for Native Americans and Latino community and other communities there. And now, besides being at Sony and being a mother, she's on the board of directors of Teatro Círculo. And it's really interesting because when I was speaking to you earlier, you say that what you also love to do, that you feel that's one of your big things that you're doing at Sony Music, and that you're doing through Teatro Círculo, which preserves classic Castilian theater and develops new Latino talent, that what you love doing is preserving our history and our culture.
Yes, I do. I really do. And I think they complement each other. They come together. I think that when we cultivate artists and when we cultivate art, it's really important for us to look back as well as look forward, and anybody who's an artist really understands that, which is basically everybody on this call, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
No, something that struck me you said today is when we think of preserving culture and history, that you're like, part of your roster is Mariah Carey, and right. That Mariah Carey's Christmas hits music video that falls within your realm, hit #1 as music videos during the Christmas season, and it's a 20-year-old video.
Right. And it's we set a record this year because it hit the charts. It topped the charts for a third in a row, and it's the first time that anybody's ever done that. So All I Want for Christmas Is You really set a record this year. And it just goes to show you, when you make something great and when you make something that touches people, it resonates forever. There's no, I find that what people trouble with as artists and in music especially, but also in film and visual art, is that people are always so concerned. They're like, oh, but is that too throwback? Or, is that out of date? Is that trend gone? Are we still in trend? And, I tell them, if it speaks to you and if you feel it, other people are going to feel it. Like, don't focus on what's current or what's happening. Focus on what really speaks to you as an artist. And that's really all you have to do. It's so simple. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to really grasp, right? Is that simple factor that it's about being timeless, like we were just celebrating Whitney Houston's catalog. I mean, talk about timeless. Lord, that woman was a fucking god, a queen, like look at all of her work and how many different genres she crossed and did with it. And it's just, we celebrated Shakira. Shakira just hit 1 billion streams on Hits Don't Lie. 1 billion views on that one video. It's insanity. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. These queens and these beautiful women who have really, and all women of color who have really stepped up and led in music in a way that's just really worth celebrating and is helping these younger artists understand. They've inspired so many artists. There's so many artists that say, like Christina Aguilera, who talked about being inspired by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, right? And it's just wonderful to be in a position to support that and make sure that we get out there and talk to people about it and make sure that people are aware of it and share it with people and make it available for people to hear it and see it and anything, interact with it. So it's just really something I enjoy.
And before I crown you Madrina, I also loved your philosophy when I asked you, what's your definition about a great artist? And what your advice was to that effect, because you've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, but also through your work with Teatro Círculo, you're also about cultivating new Latino talent.
Right. So really, I believe the greatest artists are the ones who fulfill their potential. And I find that that's really the greatest struggle as an artist and for artists, is reaching that optimized level where you've really hit your peak, where you're really at the top. And it's a struggle for a lot of people, because on your way up there, you get so distracted with so many things, because especially for people who are so talented, their talent draws in so much attention, even at the early stages of their potential. And then it becomes a distraction, or it like pulls them away from their talent or their focus or what was initially driving them and what they were doing. And it's a real big struggle for us as people too, because you have all of these other things in your life. But when you can actually fulfill your potential, I mean, that's the top of your game. That's really where it's at.
So Raquel Lizardi, I want to welcome you to now being a 2022 Madrina in Prime Latino Media. Congratulations, welcome. It's a tribute to you, what you've always done since a child, from the age of 12, and what we expect you doing over the next 40, 50 years. So gracias. Right from now on, we refer to one another as comadre and compadre. And thank you for being on board and for everything you've done for community and what you've done in Prime Latino Media. So bienvenida. So we're going in alphabetical order. Where is Mark Malone? So Mark Malone. So where are you?
Can you see me?
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. So total disclaimer, and it was questioned today, why are you giving your partner an award? And so I totally being transparent. In December, I usually have a Prime Latino Media VIP dinner in the house. Of course, I can only invite so many people. And sitting at the table were all these padrinos and madrinas. And there were only 2, and both of them are being honored tonight, but there were only 2 that weren't. And we toasted we were so happy after the pandemic, during the pandemic, to actually be able to get together and break bread together. And we toasted, and it was beautiful toast, and we toasted about one another in community and life. And I realized afterwards, I didn't toast my partner. And the reason that I'm including him as a padrino is I could not do the work I do. And as David cited earlier, his rock is Liza Colon's, Sayas, his wife. But, Mark has been there for me 1,000%, but also financially has supported me to do this crazy roller coaster adventure with you, all of you, that we're turning 10 years old next month. And I couldn't have done it without him. So I felt he is a padrino. He's, and this is the first year, because I'm all about promoting us Latinos, and that if we're not careful, we're giving tributes either to the same 5 Latinos, or we're, bringing people from other communities. But this year, for the first time, we're giving to 2 allies who we wouldn't be where we are today without them. And Mark Malone is one of them. So when we met 22 years ago in a Latino club in Montreal, did you ever foresee this adventure coming to New York and being part of this wonderful, crazy family that I love and adore, that you've watched all of this, you've had front row seats?
God, no. When I first went to the Club Exotica in Montreal, as I've told you, my whole aim was to speak a little Spanish. I'm a Blanquito that dabbles in Spanish. And so if I were to go to a bar, so much more fun to be trying to speak Spanish than going to an English-speaking bar and asking people about the weather. So that was my first memory of going up to you, or you coming up to me. I think it might have been a bit of both. And I remember saying, ¿De dónde eres? And you said Nueva York. And the
rest is history. The rest is history. It's so funny because as Joseph knows, I love Montreal. I speak 2 languages fluently, English and Spanish, and knowledge of 3 languages, but I don't speak any French. And that weekend, I was there for a World Film Festival, Labor Day weekend. I don't speak French, and I wasn't finding people, and there's lots of Anglos there, but it was one weekend I just was not bumping into people speaking English. And then when I found out there was this Latino gay club, it was like, wow. And I went there 2 nights in a row. And the second night, that's when I met Mark, who, by the way, is very shy about it, but he speaks Spanish fluently. His language is French. English, of course, as a Canadian, speaks French fluently and speaks German fluently. So for me, it was natural. So now that you've been part of this roller coaster, and my family, what do you think of my Prime Latino Media family?
Well, I'm truly humbled to stand in a field of such talented madrinas and padrinos, especially in the creative industry. As some of you know, I'm a suit, so I don't really belong in the creative side. I'm just somebody that speaks in terms of numbers and digits, but doesn't really have the sensibility of talent, although I like to think that I can really appreciate it among the family. So that's one of the things. I've had the privilege of getting to know quite a few of you, from suppers to hanging out to seeing some of your work, which is absolutely excellent. So I have been blown away by being part of the family. One of the unfortunate things for me was that pre-pandemic, I would often end up on the road during the week in Philly, so never able to make the soirees. And again, when Louis was asking earlier about the blessings and the curses of the pandemic, here's a combination of both. To me, it was a godsend, the pandemic, of not having to travel to Philly or Denver or other places every week to get to stay at home. You can imagine for Louis, it was a bit of the opposite. But
my dinner parties were killed. But then nobody was having dinner parties. I couldn't have any dinner parties. So, but that's why this year, it was like the first time you were there for one of our holiday dinners. And that's where I got the green light in my head that said, you know, this guy is an unsung hero. He gets no credit. This is the guy that I kick ideas around. This is the guy when we sat down for 3 hours and he said, what makes Prime Latino Media different from any other ethnic, cultural, networking, professional organization? And we came up with the word proven. And many of you, you're all minimum, mid-level or higher, but you're all proven multimedia makers, actors, and musicians. And that's what we host, we house, and we nurture at Prime Latino Media. It took us 3 hours to come up with that one word, but it really defines who you are. So
I just
welcome
want
to the club. Yep,
I just
sorry.
want to interject real quickly before you welcome him officially. Mark, you are an artist. I've heard you play the piano and it's extremely impressive. So you don't cut yourself short there, sir. You are definitely an artist. So
your checks in the mail.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
So in honoring you for all you've done for us over 10 years, in keeping this community afloat so that we can network and do what we're doing even tonight, you are truly a 2022 Padrino of the Year. And thank you for all you've done for community and you continue to do. So, gracias.
Thank you. And you've done an amazing job, Louis, at harnessing this group that feeds on itself, that cheers on itself, and is not only individual talent, but also very community oriented. So that's great. Before I'm forced to drop, I have 2 little challenges for the group, and you guys can certainly use the chat window for it. The first one, as I've been telling many people on different calls today, I would say not necessarily happy, but this is what I consider the US Bastille Day. And for students of French history, the most famous day is July the 14th, way back 1789, when a mob stormed the French prison, and it's become the most famous day in France. And it did spawn the song, the Marseillaise. So my challenge to you, given that this is the first anniversary of the US Bastille Day, what would be an appropriate song to sort of encapsulate the day? The best I've heard so far from past calls is Send in the Clowns, but I'm sure we can do better. The second was I was looking for, again, trying to be woke, I was looking for a gender neutral term for padrino, madrina, padrino. And again, Spanish not being my first language, the best I could find was padrinex, which, nobody.
We're not gonna go there. No, we're not gonna go there.
So
Shutting you down.
my challenge is, let's find a good gender neutral term for padrino, madrina.
What did I say to people? We come from a patriarchal culture with a patriarchal language, and it's Padrinos encompasses both, but that's why I say it's the Padrinos Awards, but that it's specific to Madrinas, and I always put my ladies first, my women first, my Madrinas and Padrinos. So thank you for accepting and being part of this journey for 10 years, and hope you'll be here for many more years to come. So thank you, Mark Malone. Mark Philip Trudeau Malone, gracias. So from the Dominican Republic, even though she lives in LA and started off with us in New York, though she started in Miami, Kiki Meléndez, did I lose you? Kiki.
Hey, how are you?
So Kiki, as you see in the background, she is in the Dominican Republic.
Oh my God, this is really cool, guys. I am at Bachata Rosa, which is Juan Luis Guerra's restaurant in Punta Cana. Juan Luis Guerra 440.
I'm glad to see you suffering during the pandemia. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I know Kiki for 30 years. Since she was 5.
But I'm only 35, exactly.
Right, exactly. I know her for 30 years. We belonged, imagine, we belonged to an organization that long ago, you know, we've been part of Latino professional networking media organizations forever. Called Hamas, Hispanic Academy of Media Arts and Sciences.
Everyone thought it was the terrorist organization. Whenever we would send them an invitation and say, you have an award from Hamas, people would be like, I don't want an award from Hamas.
And eventually she became the president of the New York chapter of Hamas. And what I still remember about her, and I have to like refresh her memory, is she was on a subcommittee where she would go to HBO and meet with human resources and demand to know how many Latino employees do you have at HBO? And she would start the conversation by saying, I know you have low numbers. So, okay, let's start from scratch. You've got low numbers, but I want to know, what are your numbers of Latinos in your company? And this was 30 years ago. You didn't do that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And this was a woman.
I want to send a shout out to my friends that are on board. Rina Valentin.
Hola, Kiki.
Dios mío. And Barbara Matos, who was always there from day one to help me with Omni. I just saw that she's on board, Barbara Matos. And is that Susan Rybin?
Yes,
Who's that?
Yes, it is. And with glasses. Hola, amiga. I love you.
I didn't recognize you. I'm like, is that Susan?
So there's always personal stuff that I connect to. I was in Los Angeles once, and I was invited to go to this Showtime screening called Hot Tamales, where she produced a 1-hour special of female comedians with one male comedian in it. He was horrible, but the women were great. I still remember their jokes. And she did this project and this initiative that she went to different companies, HBO, Showtime, Lifetime, and was like, I want to do a series on female comedians. And she started with Hot Tamales, and it was phenomenal. And again, you know, are you the female equivalent of Man of La Mancha? What got you to, why did you undertake that?
Well, at the time, there was a lack of women being showcased on stage. You know, women comedians were not taken seriously at all. And I remember when I went to the club owners and I'm like, I'm doing an all-female comedy show. And they're like, what are you talking about? No one's gonna care. And females are not funny. They literally said that to my face, you know? And we are funnier. We are funnier than men because men are dark. Men are so dark.
David!
But women are funny all the time. We don't even have to be on stage to be funny. We are hilarious 24/7. That's who we are. And I said that, and it was true, you know? It was very true. They could not believe the turnout. They could not believe the support. And then on top of that, honestly, guys, I will never get credit for this, but I put all races in one show. On stage, every race, every culture, every sexual preference was represented. And nobody thought it was a good idea. They thought I was crazy, but it was always, and you know, Susan has been there, and Rena has been there, and all my friends have been to the Hot Tamale show, and you have been there, Luis, and you feel so good when you're all together, when everybody's together, enjoying each other, laughing together. There is a gift that you get in your soul that kind of unites us, and it makes us so happy to be there. And that's why Hot Tamales was such a success. It was something that you couldn't explain. It was something godly and miraculous.
And
I think, all get together.
And I think you said it ran 400 times on Showtime. That's phenomenal. So, and now, last but not least, you're teaming up with NAPPI which is the National Association of Professional Television Executives, that now used to take place in Las Vegas, is now taking place in Miami. And you teamed up with them making Omnicultural TV Fest, where you're having Latinos pitch TV shows through this initiative. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, today, today was a really hard day for me because we were going to do our Omnicultural TV Fest February 24th, but I am a very spiritual person and I have a gut feeling with all these cases and so many people sick and so many things going on. I made a very hard decision today, which was to postpone Omni until June 9th. And I feel very, very, I don't know how to explain it, very painful because we have everything. We have everything we need to do it, but I just cannot celebrate right now. There's so many people that are sick, people's friends, people's families. And I felt like right now we need to focus on our health. We need to focus on our families. We need to focus on our communities. We need to help each other. And I don't want to be out there promoting something. I want to do it when we can celebrate life and all our projects. So today I made the very hard decision to move it to June 9th. And also today, A&E Networks just became a partner of Omnicultural TV Fest. So I made that decision, which was so hard to do. And at the same time, today, when I made the decision, I got an email, I got a text from Terry Poliogiannis, and she said, hey, by the way, A&E is in, we're gonna be your sponsor for Omni, which is gonna be great because that'll bring the networks of A&E to listen to pitches. It'll help me to support the event. So, life is very funny. Everything I do, I really do it because I want to help other people. And right now, we have to be there for each other and we have other things to worry about. So I want to have time to go to New York and do a big party with all the selections, all the people that have been selected to be part of Omni, and bring all the networks together with the selections. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad everyone is saying that it was a good choice because I was really, really struggling because, I put so much money into, promoting this for February 24th. But my gut was telling me that it's too much going on, all these cases going up and all these things, and everybody's sick, everybody I talked to, and I just had to do something that I just had to follow my gut. Well, I want to be able to go to New York and celebrate our filmmakers that got selected. I want to be able to do a party in LA before the event. I did the first Avatar populated film festival, television festival. To this day, everybody knows that was groundbreaking.
Well,
and I want to do it again.
That's exactly why we're making you the 2022 Madrina of the Year Award here at Prime Latino Media because of everything you've been doing over 30 years and that you continue to do for us first and you second. So, un millón de gracias. We love you, comadre, okay? Comadre
so everybody
mía.
Support Omni June 9th. We're gonna have the greatest event. I'm gonna try to do an event in New York prior to June 9th and one in LA so that we could all meet each other. And I'm so grateful that you guys are supporting this decision. It was such a hard decision to make.
Well, welcome. We're here to support and we'll be collaborating on that. So un millón de gracias. And now
Can I just say something really quick, TíoLouie? Can I say something really quick? Kiki, first of all, congratulations. We don't know each other personally, but I wanted to congratulate you. I just wanted to let everybody know también que I'm not trying to be shady. Kiki's feature didn't allow me to spotlight her, so I couldn't spotlight her to put her next to TíoLouie. I got a couple of messages asking me why am I not spotlighting Kiki. It wasn't a personal decision. It just wasn't, I wasn't able to do it because there's a feature in each of your profiles, okay? So no shade at all. Congratulations, Kiki. Being
Her voice and message spoke clearly and loudly.
She
so
did, absolutely.
Felicitaciones, and definitely see you in New York. So now I want to bring in our ally, our second ally tonight, Nina Gale Olsen, who I also know for 30 years. And when I think of Nina, I think of an institution that no longer exists, the Harbor Conservatory for the Performing Arts, and Raice, the Latin Museum and Collection, was developed at the Harbor, and that the performing, the Harbor was a performing conservatory arts organization that was devoted to Afro-Latino music from Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. And for 20 years, she was their fundraiser. She was their publicist in Harlem. And I want to start also with Genesis, where we talked about your parents, where I said, where did you get that from? You must have had remarkable parents.
Yes.
And you said you did. And I think your mother, is she still with us?
My mother, I hope she will allow me to reveal her age. She is 91.
Oh my God, I see her cringing in that small screen.
Right? So as I told you earlier today, when they were looking where to have us grow up, they were very, very deliberate and specific and said to the realtor, we want an integrated neighborhood. They wanted us to go to public schools that were integrated. My dad was extremely active in the civil rights movement. He marched on Washington. He was in Selma, Alabama with Dr. King, got arrested with Dr. King. And he was vice president of 1199, the Healthcare Workers Union, which is, in terms of membership, primarily Latino and Black. So my first experience was marching in the Puerto Rican Day Parade with my dad and my brother. And when I wound up, I've always worked in the arts. I'm a visual artist. And the Harbor Conservatory for the Performing Arts was in the same building as El Museo on 104th Street. So I was really immersed in Latino arts and culture. But we were the leading school for Afro-Latin music. So not only were we teaching folkloric, popular, and Latin jazz, we were the place where everyone came to rehearse. So it was not uncommon to see Tito Puente, Gato Barbieri, Larry Harlow. I had to learn about the music because as a gringa, I knew nothing. And if I was going to be speaking about it, I had to know about it. And so I was surrounded by practitioners, and I learned so much from people like Bobby Sanabria, Jose Madera, who was Tito's musical director. He's the son of Pin Madera, who was Machito's arranger. And what I learned was that, like everyone, when we were watching Ken Burns' documentary about jazz, there were no Latinos that were mentioned. And so I really felt that I had a mission to make sure that this extraordinary music and its artists was recognized, was validated. I would always explain that the music was extremely complex, that the roots were from Africa, the call and response, the multi-rhythms. And so it really felt as though I had a real purpose. And so I was extremely committed.
You were also someone who was a sister of mine who died a month after 9/11, 2001, because there's also 9/11, 1973, when Allende was killed by Kissinger and Nixon regime, but that Ana Araiz was New York City's leading Latin music promoter. If you're going back to that era of the 90s, she did Latin music night at SOBs every Monday night. And if you wanted to dance, if you wanted to hear great music being DJ'd and listen to great bands, Ana Araiz was someone who was trusted and respected in the industry, Latina, born in Mexico, raised in New York.
And Jewish.
And Jewish. Her mother was a Brooklyn Jewish Orthodox woman, and her father was Spaniard, and she was born in Mexico, and she was proud to be Latina.
He also was a publicist, and I didn't know how to do publicity. Everything I did, I learned. And what was remarkable about Anna is the fact that she was always responsive, always helpful. I could always say, how do I do this? Or should I, phrase it this way? Or who do you know that I could pitch this to? And
someone who a lot are familiar with, her husband is the great artist,
Manny Vega.
Muralist Manny Vega is her husband. So Manny lost his wife in 2001.
We lost a really wonderful, unusual person.
Right.
And I think about her all the time.
And through this work, you also came in contact with people like Bobby Sanabria, who Sonia Gonzalez has edited his music.
I have to tell you how I met Bobby. My very first arts administration job, I'm in my 20s. I'm working at the Arts Connection and Arts Education Organization, and I'm booking Bobby to go into schools. He was doing Lec Dems on Latin music with his own big band, but he was also part of Marco Rizzo, South American Music Project. And all I knew about Marco Rizzo was that he was this courtly, older gentleman with a really bad toupee, who had written the theme song for I Love Lucy. I later found out when I was working at the Harbor that he was a leading Cuban pianist and composer. He was considered the equivalent of like the Duke Ellington of Cuba. And I was like, Marco? Wow. But to understand that Bobby, who grew up in the Bronx, he's now the on-air host for WBGO's Latin Jazz Cruise.
Oh, right, Bobby Sanabria, right.
Yeah, the most generous.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, because so often funders and press people would say to me, are you a Latina? How come you're so involved in the music? And first of all, the music that we were celebrating and documenting and preserving was the music whose roots were Africa through the Caribbean to New York. I'm sorry, Miami, you're not the center of Latin music. New York is. It always was, it always will be. And I felt embraced by people who felt that I respected the culture, respected the music. Unlike some white chicks today who pretend to be other than what they are, I never said I was anything but a New York Jew when people would ask me if I was a Latina. But I would explain that, yeah, my father danced at the Palladium. And yeah, my aunt and uncle, who were a dance team, taught cha-cha and mambo up in the Catskills every summer. So that as a New Yorker, I felt a sense of ownership to the music. And we were the only school that was teaching the music. Sadly, the Harbor Conservatory doesn't exist anymore. And
what's really sad is that they have the biggest collection of photographs of the history of Latin music in New York from the 50s, the 60s, the 40s. And I hear that's in storage. I mean, I got to find some money somewhere to get that stuff out of there.
No, it makes me sad. There will be a hip hop museum before there is a salsa and Latin jazz museum in the city where it evolved.
Well, if there's going to be a Broadway museum opening up in June, some of us need to get together and do like a salsa museum here in New York, where Fania All-Star was based, whereas you said the Palladium. I mean, that's where
Corso.
where La Lupe performed, where, you know, Celia Cruz and stuff. So we have, you know, when the embargo of Cuba came about, that's when Puerto Rican salsa music in New York exploded. And there needs to, thank you for raising that. We need to get a museum going in New York. So that's another kernel planted.
Maggie Castro, I think you're talking about the project in the Bronx at the former Armory. I'm sort of aware of that. But if you look at their website, you'll see they don't have anyone who's a scholar or a museum professional. It's musicians, and I believe Ralph Mercado's daughter is spearheading that as well. Good luck.
I believe you're right. I believe you are right.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, so actually, thank you for giving birth to that. I think we've got a mission, and to be continued.
Okay, don't throw out your parents' records, whatever you do.
Right. No, we need to store them somewhere. That's why they have to find a home somewhere. So Nina, Gail, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, Nina, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Thank you. I have my uncle played with Tito Puente for many, many years. I have lots of family music, and I think you're spot on with this. So you have my support. I'm all in as well.
Okay, so we have a subcommittee going here. So to that effect, for what you've been doing for 30 years, all your life, a tribute to your parents, your uncle and aunt who used to dance, the mambo and the cha-cha and stuff like that. But for all you've done for community, always placing community before your yourself.
6 degrees of separation. My late Uncle Herb was the director of Right On, featuring the original Last Poets, including Felipe Luciano.
So it's a small, small world. So you belong in this community. You are now officially a 2022 Madrina at Prime Latino Media.
Thank you. And thank you, TíoLouie, for believing in people, sometimes even more so than they themselves, and having the ability to cajole, to inspire, and to make sure that things get in by deadline.
Thank you. So, and as we say, last but not least, our 5th inductee goes by, his official name is Edwin Pagan. To us, he's Eddie Pagan. And I know Eddie also for at least 25 years. We're both proud Bronxites. And he was at that dinner party. We both attended. Pregones in the Bronx has this wonderful musical that they've just launched called Torched. It's the story about the South Bronx burning. And they made a musical out of it. So imagine out of that tragedy, making a musical out of it. And it's phenomenal, composed by its musical director, Desmar Guevara, who I congratulated him afterwards. And I said, this was the equivalent of Mozart's Requiem. It was a masterpiece. It was phenomenal. And so Eddie was there, had not seen him since before the pandemic, invited him to this VIP dinner. And he was like the lone, besides Mark, non-Padrino. And I know what Eddie has done for this community for over 25 years. He was also the president of the New York chapter of the National Association of Latino Independent Producers in New York, NALIP. He was even on their board of directors of their national organization. He is a photographer. When the Juan Carlos II Center in NYU had an exhibit of Bronx's burning photography, there was Eddie's pictures. He's photographed. He's a photographer first. He's a cinematographer. We're going to touch on the 48 Hours project that he worked on for 4 or 5 years. But Eddie, I mean, I'm in awe of you, Eddie. You know, Eddie, you have a remarkable, you're also, and I shared it with you when we spoke previously, you're also one of the most cerebral people I know. And, you know, I'm in awe. Tell me how you made the transition from photography, photographing the Bronx, to being an established cinematographer.
Thank you for that. Now you played me up really big, and so now I have to live up to it. Que bochorno. And it's also great to see so many faces here that I know, that I've worked with, collaborated with, some people that I know from Facebook. And also, like, I even see Maggie Castro here, who you played up earlier, and I know her in one capacity. And it's great to also hear that, since you know people so well, the arcs that they've had before where they are now. It's pretty amazing that people have sort of done so much over the years. You know, I started in photography when I was about 10 years old at the Whole Avenue Boys Club in the South Bronx. My mother enrolled me when I was 10 because, you know, she was a single mother. I was breaking too many things at home, and the Boys Club had counselors. And so she figured they could give me noogies and keep me in check. And they so happened to have a darkroom in the basement among the various programs that they had of art. And I stumbled across it one time, and a gentleman that worked, un Colombiano, back in, I was 10, so this was 73. I'm 58, I just turned 58. He was Colombiano, grew up with Boricuas in the city, looked like that famous painting of Jesus Christ with the long hair and the blue eyes, cool cat. And he taught me how to, you know, develop black and white film, take pictures. And he was my mentor for about 6 years. And I don't know if you guys, some of you are not old enough to remember, but you guys remember the Kung Fu movie series with David Carradine? And the master with the long hair would always at the end of the show say, if you can snatch the stone from my hand, means you would have made it. And now you know everything that I know. And so Ernie would do that for me. And we would lay out prints after I shot them, and we would sort of look through them and talk about them, but he would put them in two piles. One piles he called candids, which means, you know, shots anybody could take, and the other ones were prints, like they were shots, they were images. And I think it took me about 6 years, but finally after about 6 years, all 10 of the images made it to the prints part. And he says, I've shown you as much as I can show you. And now I think, you know, you're ready like to do your own thing. And afterwards, all we did was hook up to talk about photography, but like, you know, colleagues, and about politics and stuff. It wasn't anymore like he was teaching me anything. And I think about that time, the director of the Whole Avenue Boys Club, Mr. Ralph Porter, who passed away last year, called me into his office, and I thought I was in trouble. I'm like, why is the director calling me into the office? I must be in trouble. And it was to give me sort of a couple of vouchers to the School of Visual Arts. One was in production and one was in cinematography. So I went into the production first, hated it because at like 17, I didn't want to crunch numbers. I didn't want to do schedules, and went back to them. I said, I don't want to do that. And he basically said, that's fine. We'll give that to another club member, but go tomorrow to the cinematography. Let me know how that goes. That fit like a glove. And so I did that for a while and started working on commercials afterwards and things in the city. Opened up a theater with a friend of mine called Pax Theater Community. We were at Pregones, then at Vamos a la Peñas, and we did the Three Kings at Hostos, all that good stuff for many years. And when I was making the transition out of that, I was looking for something to do, and I remember talking to Sonia, who I saw here before. She's still here.
She's
Sonia
still
Gonzalez.
there. She's right underneath you.
Oh, well,
I'm here. We go way
my
back.
screen, I got Judy under me, but that's cool. So Sonia, I see her now. So Sonia had said, oh, I'm part of this group called NALIT, the National Association of Latino Independent Producers. And she says, why don't you come to the meetings? We meet at Channel 13. And if anything, you'll meet other people and stuff. And I started started connecting with a lot of other media makers. And my mother said que soy entrometido, right? I don't know how to mind my business. And through attrition, for some reason, all of a sudden, a couple of years later, I was running the joint. And it was a fantastic time. I think when we talked to our interview the other day, you mentioned this.
You did it for 5 years. And
correct.
Again, so briefly tell me, because so I've got this for 4 more minutes and then Zoom's
Sure.
going to cut us off. But why, you know, you were also, you know, back then you used to collaborate on projects with Derek Partridge Velez,
Right.
Adele Morales,
Mhm.
and you said there was a whole air 20 and Sonia Gonzalez, me, Latina Confessions that you filmed, my TV series in the house, TíoLouie +4. And you said that back then you felt there was much more of an era of collaboration.
Yeah, there was a effervescence at that time that I feel is a little missing now, but everybody wanted to work with everybody else. I mean, I see David here, who I admire greatly as an artist and human being, but I even, produced a film he was in that Derek directed, and everybody seemed to want to help each other. And so it was exactly what I was been looking for that Sonia pointed me to, just getting back into that community and being able to apply my craft as a cinematographer. I had been out of the game for a while since being in theater, and so I was looking to know the equipment again and just rock again. And I think I probably made more short films during that time than I probably could have done if I hadn't come across Sonia and Nalit. And that led me just to getting back in the game and doing commercials on the West Coast, working on feature films, on a little bit on TV, and mostly documentaries. I was just speaking to Miguel Picker just before this, and a documentary we made, Latinos Beyond Real. He just told me has been put into the entire Connecticut school system as part of their curriculum, which is a film about how we're sort of featured in film, whether it's television, radio, et cetera, entertainment, the negative stereotypes. And that just got.
So we're going to jump before I lose you, because you're always creating and you're an innovator, and your specialty now for a number of years, and you're now going to shoot your own film. You wrote a film. Is your specialty now is Latino horror, and
That's
you're
correct.
spearheading that whole movement.
Yeah, I started the brand back in 2008 when I wanted to sort of have something else to do in between working on projects, and sort of have built it over the years into a point where now people around the world don't question what Latino horror is. There was a time when you would say rock en español, and people were like, what the hell is that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's in the title. We do that too. And so, now I've spearheaded that to a point where, people are actually picking up on it. There's a big
and you're going to shoot a film in the spring, right?
Yeah, there's a film called Glasgow Jack, which is a sort of horror film based on the puppet from Coney Island, the toothy smiling character. And I hope to shoot that in March. It's a short film, but it's my way of getting back into directing at the same time that I shoot it. I like being
so we're gonna end on that optimistic note, because it's 8:59 and we're gonna be cut off at 9. But you definitely are a Padrino of the Year, and you have been for decades.
Thank you.
So glad you've accepted that. We love you. We respect you. We're cheering you on with your next projects going. To everyone, things can only get better, and the world is ours in this post-pandemic world. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this holiday gathering and stuff like that. And obviously, I do this for love you all, and we're really gonna bust out this year. This is our year. So thank you, everyone, for being part of it. Thank you through the Padrinos, old and new. 37 Padrinos now in Prime Latino Media. So un millón de gracias to everyone for being involved. Prime Latino Media is nothing without my Padrinos and without all of you. So un millón de gracias. Thank you from Canada to New York to Miami. Ingrid, hello. Aaron Pagan, hello.
Well done, TíoLouie. Well done. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Thank you for always bringing us together.
Love 10-year anniversary next month. Get ready. Next month, big party. Thank you, everyone. David, te adoro. Thank you, Stella, Maggie, Barbara. Thank you, Laura.
I love you.
Susan, Nina. Thank you, Adele.